Michael Boyles, StrengthCoach.com presents the Strength Coach Podcast, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. PerformBetter.com.
All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 269.5 of the Strength Coach Podcast, the official podcast of Michael Boyles, StrengthCoach.com, the world's best source for strength and conditioning information, brought to you by Perform Better, the experts in functional training and rehabilitation. All right, I'm your host, Anthony Renna. The show notes are located at ContinueFit.com. It's where I keep all my resources. It's where also you can check out my book, Be Like the Best. The book consists of 50 interviews with top fitness pros, and after each interview is a Be Like, which is basically an action step or a challenge that will help you be like the best. I also put together a workbook of just the Be Like. So it's 50 Be Likes, and there's room for notes so you can write down your answers to some of the questions and the challenges in the book. You can go to ContinueFit.com or BeLikeTheBest.com, also sold on Amazon. All right, for today's special episode, I wanted to put together a compilation of a bunch of the Results Fitness University segments, one right after the other. Sometimes the segments can get lost in a whole episode. We've been doing a lot of these, obviously. They've been our partner for a couple of years now. And I wanted to take some of the latest ones, including Elias Scar's sales series, and put them into one show to hopefully make them, some of the concepts in them sink in a little bit more. If you like what you hear, they do have a 3-day mentorship coming up in February 2020. So it's a great opportunity not only to hear from the Results Fitness University team and learn how they do things, but also you'll get to meet some other gym owners. You get to talk to them, see what they're doing. The Results Fitness event space is right across the street from the gym, so you have the opportunity to actually see how they're doing things in the gym. It's really an amazing 3 days. So check that out at Results Fitness University Mentorship.com. Lots of things to get to, so let's get on the phone with Results Fitness. One of the things that I think all of us want to think about is there's this idea of like having, connecting with physical therapists and massage therapists and chiropractors and, other services that are in line, with what we're doing. Instead of just saying, hey, go to Alwyn Cosgrove Physical Therapy down the street where really I'm not making any money. Ideally, it would be great if I did have the space to have a little area. A lot of people have either another room, like you can make a room where it could be a shared space because, not everybody's going to, you could do physical therapy, in the afternoons and massage in the mornings, blah, blah, blah. And, I know states have different laws in terms of hiring, so maybe people want to rent the room. So, and I know you guys had physical therapy there at one time. What should I be thinking about when this kind of comes up? Should I think about renting? Should I work, what are the joint ventures should I work out? Should I require people to, hey, we want you to send, clients to us? What are some of the pitfalls as well as kind of getting involved with other services?
So there's pros and cons to all of it because it's obviously anything you bring in massage or you bring in nutrition externally or you bring in physical therapy, it can be mutually beneficial because you have a service on site to send your clients to. But sometimes the relationship is kind of one-sided that I haven't seen a whole lot of facilities for physical therapy or massage or these additional services bring in clients that then convert over to the gym, right? That never doesn't make it a bad thing, however, right? Because you have a service there for your clients. Downsides are it always takes up footprint space, right? Every square foot of your gym has to be making money. So this is you taking a piece of your gym out that was making money for something else that has to make the same money. The power of the relationship is clients like, my elbow hurts or something. You're like, hey, go see the physical therapist right here. Let's set you up an appointment right now. So you become this full service program. And you always look at the huge facilities like Exos, like Mark Verstegen's facilities. It's a full service, like complete integrated approach for the athlete. That it's almost seamless, that the training and the rehab is just so blended together, right? And that is the kind of thing that you want to. So I think that it can be a useful thing. The key thing, though, beyond where these other services are, whether they're in your place or they're external. You have to have a mutual relationship first of all, right? So if the massage therapist is next door, and you can send people to them, they have to be sending you people back. If they're not sending you people back, there has to be some type of financial relationships. Now, it's great to just send people to great people. I'm not saying it's all about money, right? If you've got good service providers in your area, you have to network with them and you have to build it. But what I've found is, especially with sports physical therapy and sports therapy, most of the people going to these physical therapists already have a gym and already have a coach. So we got very little coming back. And one of the issues is in some states, and this is why we sort of separated the physical therapy to another location in amicably parted ways, is that you can't own a physical therapy company in the state of California, and I'm sure some other states, unless you're a physical therapist or a doctor. So basically, I couldn't own the company at all. So it had to be absorbed into Results Fitness. But then if I did that, we couldn't bill medical insurance. So it had to be cash based, which with medical insurance costs are going up. A lot of people who could afford to pay cash are like, I want to use my insurance because I'm paying so much money. So that's just something to look at. It's not the same in every state, but the key thing is to start with a mutually beneficial relationship, but have an open communication that I'm looking for this to be two-way. Like, I'm hoping that you can send me some people back, right? And then I want you to revisit that as the owner of your facility every few months. Like, hey, I've sent this chiropractor 20 people and I've had 0 referrals back. Like, this is time to find somebody else,
Yeah.
Right. That's the key thing. And years ago, I can remember we had a really, what I thought was a good chiropractor in town. The first thing he told everybody that I sent them, he was doing some soft tissue work and some chiropractic, was, all right, why don't you take about a month off the gym? We're just going to let everything calm down, just give you a break.
Yeah.
And, we'll start doing some strength stuff here. I'm like, well, thank you very much. Right. Because it's not just the money on our side, but it's also the link that I'm the cause of the problem.
Yeah.
Right. The reason they're injured is going to the gym. So look for things like that. So bottom line, mutually beneficial relationship. It has to, and again, this is the business of fitness segment. That means financially it works both ways.
Yeah, I tried it at one point, and I will. My caveat would be to say, the philosophy piece was really hard, like to find people that are, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably a little bit more advanced. You're probably thinking.
You know what? That's a fantastic point.
And so it was hard to find people, and I'm not saying like everybody had to be SFMA or whatever, because that's okay. But just to understand those things, to be open to things, to know, you don't want somebody saying, okay, we're going to put a leg extension machine in here if you don't believe in leg extensions, for the physical, for training. So I think that was a really hard part for me to deal with.
Yeah, mutually beneficial has to be, you almost have to have mutually agreed principles of how exercise is done, right?
Yeah. So that was really interesting. So yeah, there's so many things to think about with this, but at the end of the day, I think, the best thing that worked out for me with this was the massage didn't take up that much room, and it was talk about having a great service for your clients. And I got minimal rent, so I made a little bit of money, but really kind of, let's just say I covered my money. So I really didn't make money, but my clients absolutely loved having the massage therapist in there. The other stuff, the chiro and the physical therapy, that was a little bit too hard. So
and what's funny, and Mike and I have talked about this, is that sometimes there's good massage therapists, like sports massage therapists, and then there's those kind of hippie granola ones.
Yeah.
So you got to find the right one,
Exactly. All right, Alan, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you next time. Alan, we had a thread on the forum about the amount of space to start out with. And it's funny because Mike, in his latest Functional Strength Coach 7, he was talking about people about, starting out. And he said, don't think Alwyn Cosgrove and Mark Verstegen started out in the facilities that they're in. And he showed a picture of, your original space. He showed Mark Verstegen working with Nomar Garcia-Parra in the supermarket, an empty supermarket across the street. So the bottom line is, wanted to talk to people about, look, you don't need 10,000 square feet to start out with. So I wanted to talk to you about what kind of size you think we should be looking at right away. Like, we're a trainer, we have X amount of clients, and that's another thing that I want to really quickly talk about is like, how many clients do you think before we can feel like, okay, we can go in on our own? You know, and when we're looking at that space, besides the size, what should we plan for growth? Like, you know, is there other spaces in the building? Is there a basement? Is it going to be hard to move? And is location really that important, or is it really just about parking? So just a lot of questions there, but talk to us about getting that initial space, things we want to look for.
So the biggest thing is, let's start with your model, right? If you're a one-on-one guy who's only going to do one-on-one training, and there's still, I've been very vocal that I think small group and bigger group is a better business model. But if you're a one-on-one guy, obviously you need less space if it's just going to be you and the client. If you plan on having a couple more staff there, then you need a little more space. We opened, the unit was about 1,100 square feet, and about 600 of that was the gym floor, and we were doing one-on-one at the time. And so very quickly I had me, Rachel, and one other trainer. So there's 6 people in this space. You're running out of space because of the coaches standing around, right? I can handle 3 people on my own, and that's kind of part of how the small group model came about, is this realization that you could fit more people, you could train more people at a time. Right now, if you're running the kind of model that is more popular now with small group, maybe multiple coaches, maybe a class going on at the same time, I don't like anybody going in under 1,500 unless you've got lots of room to grow. And I'd really push you towards 3,000 to start with. 3,000, you can make a lot of money without having to grow at all. 1,500, you can make money, it'll be good, but you're going to run out of space, and that puts a cap on your income, right? So that's the part to think about. Now, I will say that our original location, I've been fortunate enough in that I haven't had to move, because I'm in a strip mall, right, in downtown Newhall in California, which is, when we moved in, it was the edge of town, and we've been fortunate enough that that's kind of where town's become hot now, right? All the gastro pubs and boutique stores and stuff, and wine bars are all going in behind us, and there's a hotel coming in, which will be cool. But we've been fortunate enough that the businesses next to us have gone out of business, and I've been able to expand in the same location. But now we're only somewhere around 6,000 square feet, and we can get it done in that space. So I like 1,500 to start with, depending on your model. And what you really want to look at, the one thing I don't like about my facility is, because of me expanding, I've got load-bearing walls, so it divides it into little rooms, which makes line of sight hard. I'd like a bigger box, or divide it into 2, right, so I could see the whole gym from one point. Now, in terms of when can you afford it, well, what you have to do is figure out what would the rent be. Now, on the West Coast, they charge monthly, and on the East Coast, they talk about it annually, right? So I'm going to talk about it monthly is $1 to $3 per square foot per month, which will be 12 to 36 if you're on the East Coast, right? And how many clients would you need to cover that, right? And how many clients could you handle? So without getting into here's how much money you need to make, your rent should be no higher than 30% of your costs each month, right? So if it's going to be 3,000, right, that your costs will have to be 9,000 per month, right? Sorry, has to be 30% of your costs, right? So payroll is the next part, and then everything else miscellaneous above that. So if the rent is 3,000, you're looking at it has to be 9,000 in costs. That's including you getting paid, right? So can you generate over 9,000 in that space? Well, if a client is paying, let's say we choose 10,000 as our target income for that. This is kind of a backwards way to do it, but it hopefully explains to people. If we do 10,000, we need to make 10,000 a month, and we're going to charge 200 a month. We need to get 50 clients in there. Can you get 50 clients, right? If you can get 50 clients, that's good. If you've got 25 right now, you're probably ready to go, right? You can hit that, right? But that's the idea, is that I read this a long time ago, or I saw it on TV, and it was John Lennon was interviewed, or Paul McCartney, one of the Beatles, and they said, what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to write myself a swimming pool. And everybody kind of joked. But what he was really referring to is he knew that if he wanted a swimming pool, it was X number of dollars, and his skill is to write songs. And he could write a song that with his percentage of the money made, he was going to buy a swimming pool. And that's how you think about it in terms of rent. It's not what you can afford, it's how many clients would that be, right? So if we're looking at a $3,000 rent for a space and you're charging $200 a month, then obviously you need 15 clients to cover just the rent to break even, right? If you're less than that, you're not ready yet, right? So that's the basic idea. So you start small, look at your workout style. I'll always talk about workout flow. If you always start with stretching, then where do these people stretch? Where do they do their dynamic warm-up? Where do they do their movement? Where do they go to do core? Can you make your gym flow so that every 15 minutes, 3 people could arrive and they don't disrupt the flow? And if you can get that in your space, then you've got something pretty cool. But it starts with if you're a boot camp style where you want to see 20 people an hour, you're going to need a little more space than someone who's doing a one-on-one training.
Let me ask you really quick, though. You mentioned the lines of sight and you mentioned your space. Now, I'm thinking the opposite. I like the way your space is because I feel like they walk in and, on the left-hand side, right after the front desk is that warm-up area. So it's kind of like, and then, then there's then they come around the corner and there's some other things and there's the weight room, right? And then the other room is the group fitness room that's kind of separated. I think that is beneficial. And I think it also, for newer people, it kind of brings it down a notch instead of saying like, oh my God, I'm in this huge gym, even if that's same space that's wide open and everybody can see me right now. I feel like for newer people, it's kind of nice to walk into your place and know
there's definitely some strengths to it because I can divide the room up and I can do different activities, but now I need more staff because I can't see somebody in the back corner, right? And that's the idea is I would never have one big box, right? I would still divide things up, but I had to divide it up not by my choice, right? That's all I'm saying. So the idea of the warm-up room being completely separate, and this is something that I'll teach is my heavy dumbbells are at the back of the gym. Our heavy squat rack is at the back of the gym. So a new member comes in, they don't see any of that stuff, which is the intimidating stuff at some level, right? But and it allows me to do that workout flow I was talking about because people move to really the next room, right, as they come around the gym, and then they finish, as we talked about a few episodes ago, they'll do an entire loop of the gym, and they finish back at the front desk where our smoothie bar is to get their post-workout shake.
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff. All right, Alan, well, thanks for doing this. Lots to think about when you're thinking about going out on your own and getting a space. So thanks, and we'll talk to you next time. Alan, let's talk about, we all know how important testimonials and social proof is, but I've seen so many different types, and I'm not sure, and you would know better, if people are tired of the before and after pictures, but or if they don't believe them, because there's been so many so much quote-unquote fraud with that, right? Are before and after pictures the best way to go? Should we do videos? Should we do them all? Also, how should we go about it? My feeling is, when this came up on the forum, was my feeling is, no, send them a couple of questions and then kind of rework it if you're doing text stuff, right? And if you're doing a video, ask them that question, lead them, because they're not used to doing this type of stuff. But talk to us about best practices for testimonials and social proof.
So the hardest part is the best testimonial comes completely organically and spontaneously when a client just tells you something, right? Yeah. So you've kind of have to always be on your game, ready for that client saying something like, you know what, man, this gym changed my life. And you're like, hey, can you just write that down and give that to me? And then they don't know how to write, and it's a month later and they don't get it. Yeah. So you've and this sounds, my coaches don't have their cell phones on the floor. We don't have the iPads on the floor. But when we hear that, they're allowed to go get an iPad and go, can you just say that again? Right? Because that's the best one. That's completely organic. captured spontaneous one, right? Now to collect them, the before and afters, the problem with before and afters is a few years ago, FTC made a ruling that you can't use that phrase results not typical at the bottom. You have to disclose what typical results are, which is hard when you run a gym and you got one kid trying to gain weight, you got one girl trying to lose weight, and if you average those two people out, the results are zero, right? Right, which one gains 10 pounds, one loses 10. So that doesn't work. So what's worked best for us is just to show somebody working out. You can show a before picture and then them working out, but with no claims as to numbers or anything like that, right? That's just legal stuff. If you always get 10 pounds off of people and your average result is 10 pounds in 1 month and you can document that and prove that if you were challenged legally, absolutely, you've got it, right? But if you can't, and if you train people for different things and some clients are, on maintenance, then you just, it's not going to work. So one of the things that we ask is, hey, tell me where you were before you joined the gym. It's really asking someone their story. Testimonials are always weird because if I'm like, hey, if you ask me, can I get a testimonial? I'm like, yeah, Ant is a good dude, and I like time with him, right? And it's just so, they all sound the same, right?
Yeah.
Like you could just change the name on it. But I'm just like, all right, so we're just going to ask you about your story. Tell me where you were before you joined Results Fitness, and I'll get a little story. And what made you decide to join? What was the turning point? And I'm like, and where are you now? What are you doing this weekend? Like something like that. And then I always ask something like, what's your favorite exercise? What's your least favorite? So I get some fun stuff. And then I finish with, if someone's on the fence about joining Results Fitness, what would you tell them? And how you collect that, I like video because I can see expression. And we've got so many platforms now where before, man, I remember trying to put a video in a Perform Better presentation. Man, it was like cracking the FBI code. It was so hard. Now it's so easy, right? We can collect video really easy, but then I can take that video and I can transcribe it. I can screenshot parts of it. I can put the wording with the client doing another exercise. I can edit it and turn it into something like a little promo video of the client. You can do so much with it. But I think social proof is still hot. It's still, I tell you I'm good, you'll think I'm boasting, right? Everyone tells you that I'm good. You're like, all right, there must be something to it, right? So it's the key thing is, I'm just going to review it, is we're not asking for a testimonial anymore. We're asking for your story, right? Hey, Joanne, tell me where you were before you joined Results Fitness, and what made you decide to come in? And were you skeptical in the beginning? Anything, just build that rapport with them. And where are you now? And what would you tell anybody who's a little nervous about joining Results Fitness? Now, we'll do some of those as an interview. And with clients that get it, we can get them to say the question and their answer without hearing my voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I can just answer it as, before joining Results Fitness, I was blah, blah, blah. Right? Some of those clients if you get a couple of clients that really understand it, and they'll be like, that works really well. And then have types of testimonials. We will go after anybody over 60 for a while, and we will focus on that and build a database of them. Around Valentine's Day this year, we did couples. Any couples who were at the gym, we interviewed them as a couple, and we did that was our testimonials for a little. We call them internally, they're testimonials. For clients, their stories, and for my coaches, I want them to capture the magic moments. Nice. Like when a client hits a PR, I want that on video if we can get it, right? We just did a tactical strength challenge at the gym, and at our gym, if you hit a PR, you have to ring the bell. So at the end of it, everybody had a PR. We had the whole team just ringing the bell, and we just captured that on video. And we used that as like PRs at Results Fitness. Right, so that's it. Think about it in terms of getting people's story, right? And think about making them the star. Right? Because the reality is as a coach, you can't do it for them. But when the story comes across, it's clear they can't do it without you. Right? But make it about them, and they're the star. And what we like to have is that we use it, they put it on their social media, and social media is still hot. Right? It's becoming an advertising platform more than it used to be, but we still got to use it.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right, Alwyn, thanks for doing this. Definitely a lot to think about with these testimonials and trying to keep your integrity. And we did have a question on the forum about it. And one thing I will say is keep yourself out of it don't, because that was actually asked. He had asked, like, he wanted to do a little background. I was like, no, stay out of it.
No, it's not. It's not about you, but
Yeah.
that's going to come across anyway with a good story, right?
Yes.
That's the part. Like, you don't. We sometimes we're like, I need to make sure they know that I'm her coach.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, you don't. That's going to come across. Just make it about them and their training. And it's if you ever watch like any sort of promo for the NFL Combine or boxing or anything like that, you'll see a guy training and doing exercises, and that's what you want your story to look like. Like, you see the client doing the ropes, doing the kettlebell swing, right? You want your promo to look like that. But think about it as it's their story. You're just sharing it.
Absolutely. Alan, thank you so much for doing this. We just did, that was our 4th one we did today. And so next time we'll have our girl Rachel on. So Alan, thanks again. Here's something that I know I kind of spent a lot of time on when I changed from one-on-one to semi-private. But look, it doesn't matter if you're changing from anything. You need to know these, and that was the monthly fee for semi-private rates, because I think we can look at what's your rent. I even threw in. I think I did something like, okay, people are going to come in. The most they're going to come in is 12 times, 3 times a week. And I'm giving them a bottle of Poland Spring water that I was getting from Costco, which cost me 25 cents each. So I really did throw in that, 75 cents a week, that extra $3. I just kind of included it like, what is this really costing me? So can you talk about, I even broke down the rent, like what's the rent every day, I tried to figure all that out. What are some of the factors that you take into when you're determining monthly semi-private rates?
So it's a great question. I think like you said, there's a lot of different factors because you have to take your own costs into effect. So your 2 biggest expenses in any business are going to be your rent, like you mentioned. So depending on what kind of rent you've signed on the dotted line for, that's definitely going to be part of your expenses that you'll need to factor in. Some people get great deals on their rent, so they can, they have a little more wiggle room. If you have a larger rent that you're paying every month, then you definitely got to make sure you're charging enough to, make enough money so that you're going to have money left over. So rent and then payroll. And so you definitely want to think about, I think a lot of people, when we start offering semi-private, you might be running solo. Maybe it's you training your clients. And so you're not thinking ahead about how much would I have to pay somebody, as I hire coaches, and, what would be the going. So we want to look at the going rate for, personal trainers in your area, how much are they making and what would that look like? So that you set yourself up to be able to build a team and, build a business. So it's not you doing all of the coaching and not realizing that there are costs involved when you have payroll. And then, what are people going to pay? And I think, there is definitely like price points that when you get over certain price points, people are going to, you're going to have a much lower conversion when people come in. So, for us, like we've been $297 a month has worked great. I think under the $300 a month price point, especially when they're signing an annual agreement, does work well. So then figuring out, sometimes it's not necessarily figuring out how much you should charge, but maybe you find that right price point. So you find, okay, $297 converts well, people are signing up for it. Okay, now what can I actually give for the $297? Like you're saying, can I give them a water bottle? Can I give them, 3 sessions a week, or is it only 2 sessions a week? Can I give them access to the gym? So over the years, we've actually kept our price point pretty much the same, and we've just decreased what we give them, instead of raising our prices, looking at, how can you, basically get, you're ending up, they're paying the same, but it's not costing you as much, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I actually, I threw in, because I had a putting green and a place to hit golf balls. So I threw that into, like into my monthly, like as a value add. Like, it's like, hey, listen, you're going to get, unlimited sessions, which I did say unlimited sessions because I was dealing with older folks, right? Like people 50 and over. My buddy Frank Dolan, he was like, I can never do that because like the parents will just drop the kids off every single day. He said he had a few people that were literally like the young kids in high school would come there every day if you said the unlimited kids. So like I wouldn't be able to do that. You have to obviously take your demographic into account with that.
Yeah, and I don't recommend unlimited. We did unlimited for a period of time, and we are undoing unlimited because it causes a lot of problems with scheduling. Like you're saying, people can schedule, all week long, and whether they show up or not doesn't matter. So definitely, really consider if you're going to offer unlimited that should be a really much higher price point. But overall, there are so many factors. It is hard to really narrow down in a 3-minute conversation. But I would say just make sure you've run the numbers. And like I said, we've really landed on that 297. We find when we went over 300, our conversions dropped quite a bit. So then we went back to 297 and just decreased what we offered. So right now they get 2 semi-private coaching sessions, and they get 2 group classes for the $297. So if they want unlimited group classes, then they bump up to $349. So, but most of our members do the $297. They get, and for us, 4 workouts a week is typically what most of our members do. So we basically went with what the most members do. And when you look at that, if you have 8 sessions a month, so 297 divided by 8, you're at 37 a session. So if you have 4 in each session, your revenue is at just under 150 per hour. So when you're going to be paying a coach, depending on what the hourly going rate in your area is for a personal trainer, you got a good amount of leeway there, so even if there doesn't end up being 4 in each session, and if there's only, say, 2 in each session, if you're paying the coach still, 30 to 40 an hour, you're going to be fine. So those are the kinds of things to take a look at is, definitely the going rate. I mean, for us, payroll, because we have someone else writing the training programs, we have different layers and levels within our system. The actual hour is going to be 15 to 25 to coach the client. And then you're going to have someone else writing the program. That's going to be an additional, 15 to 25 to write the program. So, taking all of those costs into account. But that's the biggest thing I would say is just don't just put a random number out there, really think through. I think I like the 297 number because I like thinking if you get 300 members is kind of like a number most of us are shooting for, I think for a lot of people when they join our coaching group, that first we want to get them up to 100 members and then 200 members. And then, the $1 million mark would be, if you had 300 members at 297, you'd have your $1 million business. So kind of a good number to shoot for.
Very cool. One last question on this. I remember when you guys were advising me, I think, or you were advising everybody at the time, you were going per person in the group. So if I'm the trainer and you were paying me $12 per person per hour. So if I had 3 people, I was making $36 an hour as a new employee. That's the way I was looking at it. I'm like, if I start somebody off at 12, they're making more than they would make at Equinox, right? Obviously, if one person showed up, that's only $12 that they're making.
Right, but then they're motivated to have more people show up.
Yeah,
so
obviously.
Yeah. So, I like that model. We currently are on an hourly model, but I like having, it's because the only reason we're on an hourly is because we did offer unlimited for a period of time. I actually really like doing the per client because I do think it motivates the trainer to get, 3 to 4 clients in an hour. It also motivates them to get their renewals and, really retention is, they're rewarded for retention. So that works well. And then, like you said, they can make, more per hour than they would if they were at another gym. And so when you have clients that are signing up on an annual agreement, you're really guaranteeing your trainers an annual salary, like you're guaranteeing an annual income. So it's, for people that are working for you, it works out to be a win-win because they know that client signed up for the year. So, it's not like they have to sell them another 10 sessions next month, so so it really does build a stable, sustainable model that, your trainers can really feel like, okay, yes, I'm going to be able to make, 25 to 35 an hour, consistently because these people are signing up for the year. And, okay, these people are paying $297 a month. So, I know I can promise my trainer that I can pay them because, they're signing up for the year.
Yeah.
And I feel like that $297 number is definitely a good price point that people will sign up for the year. And it is, of course, like New York City is going to be a completely different animal, or, so it's hard to put
of course,
a blanket statement. But definitely run your numbers, and find that happy spot. But don't forget to think about, if you do find a good number that converts well, now back up and look at what can you give them for that number. So don't be afraid to give less instead of always raising your prices.
All right. Very cool. All right, Rachel, thanks for doing this, and we'll talk to you next time. Last week we talked about about going over just things we want to think about with the monthly semi-private rates, but obviously we have to try to get people in to come into our gym. And I know trial memberships were really big for a while, and I'm not sure if I see them as much. I think we're seeing a little bit lately. We've been seeing a little bit more of these type of done-for-you marketing challenges, but people were doing trial memberships for like 3 weeks for $99 or 2 weeks for whatever, just kind of like a percentage off the regular price. Talk to us about, should we still be doing that? Number one, is that still, is that something you guys are still recommending? And if we are, like, what are we offering? We can't offer everything that we do as a gym. Maybe we do. Maybe we can. Can you talk about that?
Sure. Yeah. So any of our marketing, we absolutely have to have some kind of a call to action. So that's really what a trial membership is it's a call to action. It's a, risk-free offer. So it gives people that, that reason why they should call and get started, because, they can come in and they can try it out. So I still think it's a great marketing tool. I think, definitely it's something that you should consider offering. The key with it is that it's not, I think a lot of people think, when they come in and say, yes, I want to do the trial membership, we go ahead and sign them up for the trial membership. Where most of the people that come in to Results, if we're currently using a trial membership in our marketing, when they come in and ask, yes, I want to sign up for the trial membership, we take them through our whole strategy session and get to know them, get to know what their hot points are, get to know why they came in, and really listen to them. And by the end, we've built that trust, we've built that relationship, and, the trial membership that they originally walked in for, we're at that point going to give them an incentive to instead go ahead and become a member. And so, we will go ahead and go in for the sale at that point and say, hey, we can do the trial membership. You can, be here for a couple weeks and quit. Or we can go ahead and get you started today. You sound like you're really ready to go. You have your daughter's wedding coming up, and you're really, I would hate for you to do this and not follow through and commit to yourself. So, here's what I want to offer you today. If you join today, you're going to get, and, in the incentive package, we give them, like goodies, t-shirt, water bottle, a package of goodies. And then, as far as the, we'll usually waive the initiation fee. So it's usually our initiation fee is equal to whatever the trial membership was, so they don't feel like they're losing out on anything. And then we do have a 30-day guarantee. So there's really still no risk. Like they're signing an annual agreement, but within that first 30 days, if they end up deciding this just isn't for me, they can still get out of the agreement. So with that 30-day guarantee, there's really no reason for them not to go ahead and become a member. So just think of the trial membership as more of a hook. It's a call to action to get them to come in your door. And once they're in your door, don't do them the disservice of not getting them to commit and get started, because they're ready. And I think, too much we lean on, okay, we'll just get you signed up for the trial membership. And then, they do their 3 weeks and, maybe they don't totally commit, and maybe we don't even, they don't even follow through on the 3 weeks, and then, they can end up not finishing. So just make sure you're asking for that sale up front, because most of our people that come in on the trial end up doing a membership from the get-go.
Very cool. Well, I will say, in all fairness, you do have an amazing salesperson in Elias Scar, and you guys have an amazing system. And I'm going to put a link up for everybody. I sat down with Elias to go through the whole thing for Strength Coach TV, and it was amazing. Everybody should check that out. to see that. But Rach, I think some of the people, the objection to what you're saying might be like, and I know you've gotten this in your, hey Rach, we don't have an Elias right now, and we don't have like a whole package where we can maybe offer them goodies right now. What are some of the objections that people have given you, like that you've recommended this to your clients, to your businesses that you're consulting, and how do you kind of overcome that for them, help them overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, regardless of who you have doing it, whether it's you or it's one of your trainers, or, you can still follow a script and still ask the person to sign up. And that's all I'm saying, is to ask the person to sign up, which anybody can do. And I think you'll be surprised. I think so many of us put these own, like limits on ourselves when the client's ready. Like they did the hardest thing. Yeah. They walked through your door and they're ready to go. So don't not ask them, just that's one thing, is just go ahead and ask, because you'll be surprised at how many of those people are like, oh, I'm glad you asked, because I do want to do this and I am ready to go. And they're just looking for you to tell them what they should be doing.
Cool.
So just don't be shy about that. Like, you might be surprised how many people would just say yes. The other objection I would say we get is, because if you are, solo, which a lot of us, when we open our businesses, it's us, we're doing everything. We're cleaning the toilets. We're, doing the strategy sessions. We're training our clients. Like, how do I have time to do a free or do a, trial membership, or like a free strategy session, or how do I have time to do this? And so that's something that you definitely have to look at schedule wise, is, in your schedule, setting aside, set times that maybe you do these appointments. If it's, only you doing them, that might be a part of, looking at your time blocking to make sure you set aside, a certain period of time, and then you fill those times with people that are coming in to work with you. So, since they are coming in for that it's like, it does take it'd be easier to just put them straight into a workout, right? Like, they come in, come on in, jump into the class, and, we'll get to know each other later. And it does work best if you can have that time to really sit down with them and get to know them and listen to them. The odds of them committing to you for the long term are going to be a lot higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Rach, we get a lot of questions on the site, because I think there's still a lot of people doing, one-to-one. We have some therapists on there that are still, obviously doing one-to-one. And they ask, should I offer a free assessment or first session free type of deal? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, same thing. It's, it's a hook to get people to come in. And I think it is a good idea to offer something, so that people have that risk-free, I can come in and get to know you, and get to know each other, build trust. It's hard to get someone to, especially if you're trying to get them to commit to an annual membership. It's going to be hard to get them to commit to an annual membership without actually sitting down and talking to the person and getting to know them and showing them what you know and doing an assessment and, showing them that you can help them. I think that does set you apart from the boot camps and the, even the Orange Theories, or the, all the other competition that's out there. When they come in and you actually do, an assessment of them, and you really take the time to get to know them and get to know their body and get to know their history. And, it's like, that is a differentiator, because most gyms aren't doing that. So yeah, I do think it's worth doing, just to set the groundwork, if, and then track your conversions. And, it should be worth it if you're converting people to become members. If they're not converting and you're just spending a lot of time doing free assessments with no one joining, then we got, other problems that we need to take a look at. Yeah. I think it really worked for me in terms of, like, when people said, hey, Ray, I got my friend Rachel, is a golfer, and she is really interested in this, she's thinking about doing it. And I'd be like, yeah, send her and I'll give her, we'll have our strategy session, And I did, I sent them a survey first that they filled out at home, because I always thought that was a better way to do it. And I like the way Elias does it. Like, he fills it out for them. It's how he builds rapport. I love that. But, it was nice, because I would use some points in that survey to talk about, like, to get to know them. And so that first 15 or 20 minutes was really just us sitting down talking and kind of going over some golf, or talking about courses or swings, and then I did the assessment, and then I took a picture of their posture, their golf posture, and then did a couple exercises, and then took another picture and showed them the before and after, and they were like, I'm signing up. It was so worth it to do it. And I think that's why I always recommend that kind of thing, at least where you can kind of really get to know them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know for us, if we get you through the door, yeah, we can get you signed. We're not worried about us getting you signed up. So you got to be confident, and you can get them signed up. But I think if you sit down and listen to someone who's ready to go, you're going to end up getting more people signed up than if you don't offer that.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, Rach, well, thank you so much for doing this. It's a question that a lot of people have been asking on the strengthcoach.com forum. So we'll talk to you next time. We got Elias Scar, the membership director at Results Fitness, and he's also the sales and communication coach for Results Fitness University. And if a lot of you have heard us talk about the episode that Elias and I did for Strength Coach TV, just on sales. And it's a really great episode, but we're going to try to go a little deeper in different components here on the show. So, Elias, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, let's start out with something that I think, we could have this great strategy session set up, right? But we get a lot of calls over the phone, and we really should have, in order not to kind of veer off from what we're trying to accomplish, we kind of should have a script, but we don't want to sound too scripted with a regular call, because sometimes those calls are coming in, we don't know they're coming in. It's not like a sign up, call me at 1 type of thing. This is the one where I'm just talking about. People are calling Results Fitness. What do you tell the people that are answering the phones? People are going to always ask for prices, et cetera, et cetera. What's best practices for that part, the phone, answering the phone?
That's a great question. So a couple things to keep in mind when we're answering the phone. The number one thing is that people calling for information, you have to remind yourself they're calling because they're interested and they're looking to buy. So you got to take that pressure off yourself. If I got to sell over the phone, I got to close it over the phone. Just relax. It's the beginning of a conversation to buy, and we're leading them there step by step. So the number one important practice is that the phone is for gathering information, not for giving information. And the point of a script isn't to sound salesy or sound like you're a robot, but to give you a baseline, something that you can count on, your safety net for conversation. You know where the conversation is going to go, what you're going to talk about. You're going to ask for things like, what are you looking for? What do you want to accomplish in gym? Why is this important to you? What's the best number to reach you at in case you lose touch? Can I have your email address so I can send you more information so you can take your time and look it over? So using that script is more of a, like I said before, a safety net to make a conversation go in a very constructive way where we can gather information. Now, the other thing you pointed out was price. People always call and ask for price. That's an interesting thing. It really stresses people out. We're like, should I give out the price? If I give out the price and I haven't been able to establish value, and what if it's too much and I don't know what their budget is, but I should pre-qualify people before they come in? You just got to relax. The reason people ask for price is because that's what we've been taught to do. We've been taught to call and ask, how much is it? The minute you get somebody off simply by asking, who am I speaking with? What's your name? What are you looking for? What do you want to accomplish? They actually want to give control over the phone. We just ask for the price because we're not sure what to ask first. And that's what we've been taught.
Nice. So we're really directing this conversation. We're making sure we're gathering all this stuff, all this information on them. It's almost like we're kind of throwing them off their game. So we're giving them something to talk about so they're not going to ask for price.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want you to talk about the things I want to talk about as we get through here. But what makes it easy about that is although we are engineering the conversation and we do want it to go a specific way, it's still all about them. It's about what they want, what they're looking for, what they're interested in, what they're trying to find. And so even though we're engineering it to get what we want, when we make it about them, it's still a very comfortable, relaxed conversation.
So with that being said, if they're still going to ask for that price, at least we have some information about them. We can kind of start to direct them. Or are you going to give
absolutely.
Okay.
I don't like to get to hold the price hostage, right? Because I don't want to be. We're not embarrassed of our prices. Results Fitness, it's quite an investment to do what we do because we know what that return on investment is. So we don't hide the prices, but at the same time, you want to give things in a simple, easy to understand way. So there's two things to do that. Number one, the first question I like to ask is price the most important thing when you're looking for a gym? I put it right on the table. Are you simply looking for the least expensive place? Because if you are, then I can tell you, great, the Y down the street is $8 a month. That's where you want to go. right? And and then I do a couple things. I don't waste their time. I don't waste our time. 2, when you put it that way, people realize, oh, well, no, I'm not looking for, I don't want the cheapest thing. Then we can start to open up conversation. Another thing we can do is what we call break it down to the ridiculous, and just say, it's right around 18 to 20 bucks a session, depending on how many times you come a week, to give them the simplest breakdown.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, and that is, the first question that is price the most important factor? Is that one of the questions you might ask, or are you waiting till they ask for how much it is?
I would wait until they double down or triple down on the price, right? If they ask the first time, I would say, that's a great question. Let me have your email address so I can send you all the information and you can take a look at it. You can take a look at it on your own time. Like, you know what I mean? So the whole idea is I'm going to send you an email with all the information, and then you don't have to worry about it over the phone. You can take a look at it and take your time and review all the programs, because our pricing options are attached to the email. And that is usually enough for most. Oh, you're going to send it to me. Great. I can take a look at it then. Let's talk about the other stuff.
Cool. And is also an objective of this call, let me get them in this space. I got to get them here.
Absolutely. So that's the number one objective. So gathering contact information, or really any information, so you could have something to talk about, find common ground, and find out what they're looking for and sell on that, is to set up a strategy session. That's the primary goal. We want to set up an appointment to get them come in so we can give them a test drive, right? It's the same as driving a car. If you got your dream car, like for me, an Aston Martin Vanquish, that's a $200,000 car. You sit and you look at the price, and you think there's no way in hell, until you get in and you test drive one, and then you start to think, well, wait a minute, how could I afford this? So the whole idea of getting them in to come into your strategy session and come into your gym is to get that test drive, to start to change that frame of mind of, let me establish some value. Let me help you understand how powerful what we can do together, the things that we can accomplish together are.
Love it. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to end this here because we got a whole series with Elias coming up over the next couple months, really. And what we want to just do is, what's the next step? And that is that this first meeting with them at the gym. So, Elias, thank you so much for doing this. And we'll talk to you next time.
Absolutely.
All right, last time we talked about that initial conversation over the phone. Really our number one goal, get their butts down here so we can, try it out, do the test drive. And I want to talk to you about, we've had a couple people on Strength Coach TV where there's some that do the office, and they have a special sales office where it's nice. They can look out into the gym, and there's some books there that they wrote, or there's some good testimonials, right?
Yeah.
All over the place. But then there's a couple like Doug Sperling from Sperling Fitness, and you guys do it out on the floor. And so my main question to you was, look, Elias, we talk so much about people having this fear of the gym, and now you're going to sit them down right by your smoothie bar, and they're going to have to talk about how fat they are. So talk to us about the advantages of and why you're doing it out on the floor.
Okay. So we have to look at the whole thing as building a relationship, because that's really what we're doing. We're sitting down and you're asking somebody to commit for a year or for however long they're going to be a member. You're essentially asking, hey, do you want to date us for a year? Do you want to be in a relationship for a year? So imagine finding someone that you like, a girl or a guy that you like, and you think, you know what, I want to date that person. And so you grab them by the hand and you take them and you lock them in a room, and they can't see out and they can't see anybody around them, and they say all these wonderful things and trophies that you have, and then you ask them, okay, so let me tell you about why I'm so great. Like, you see how awkward and uncomfortable that would be? It's the same thing with the gym, right? We want to set up this environment where we can build a relationship. And although it might be uncomfortable at first, people start to zero in when that relationship gets strong. You sit them down, it's comfortable, it's relaxed. They don't feel trapped into an office. They don't feel like they have to sit through a sales pitch. What it starts to become is two friends talking about how one can help the other. And we want that to happen in a relaxed and casual environment. We'll order a couple of shakes. We'll each have a smoothie, or we'll each have a water, or even offer a protein bar, or offer some kind of food or some kind of beverage. So we can sit there and say, let's just talk. Let's just have a conversation. It also sets us apart from any other sales process, whether they bought a car and been stuck in the office, or whether they've been to a big box and been stuck in an office or stuck at a sales desk. The more we can make it feel like, let's build a relationship first. And once we have that relationship established, we can talk about what kind of progress we want to make with the things that you want to accomplish.
Yeah, and I think, again, if you saw the Strength Coach TV episode, what you saw was, and I mentioned this, is obviously the young lady behind the desk, I forget her name right now, she remembered, she was told that I was coming. So I walked in and I said, hey, I'm here to see Elias. And she said, oh, you're Anthony. Okay, great. Anthony, Elias will be out in a little bit. And can I get you a smoothie? And I was in LA. I was in LA traffic for a while, so I was like, "Yes, you can." So she did, and I was sitting there, and you came out, and we went over some stuff. So she made me feel comfortable right away. And you guys, another cool thing is people will come up. Talk to us about that part of some of the current members being part of that sales process.
Well, that's one of the most exciting and fun things for me. So one of the things that you want to introduce somebody into is your culture, because your culture is going to be a huge selling point. Do I like to be there? You can have, we're one of the top 10 gyms in the country. We've got some of the smartest coaches on the planet, have a billion best-selling books. None of that matters if people don't like it there, if they don't like to be there, be in the environment and be around people. So when we're doing that strategy session out at that table, what that allows us to do is members want to come up and say, hey, you must be new. It's almost as if bringing the new kid onto the playground and all the other kids will say, hey, come play with us. In fact, we do it the same and follow the same specific system so often that members now learn when is their time to come up and actually introduce themselves and say hi. So they know, and they'll wait. I'll watch somebody wait around the corner and peek at the strategy session, waiting for their cue that says, okay, this is the part where I come in and I introduce myself and I say, hey, welcome to the gym. You got to join it here. It's going to be the best decision you ever made, and I can't wait to see you in class.
And I think there's an element of, if I'm sitting there and somebody did that for me, I'm always going to remember that, and probably as I'm enjoying my time there, start to say, I want to do that too. I want to go up to somebody. I want to be part of that, because you're putting that idea in somebody's head to do it.
Absolutely. And the whole idea of we're a team. The whole gym, all the members, everyone is a team. And so the team has a responsibility to bring new people onto the team, and our members take that seriously. One of the things that if we do this in an office, or we don't include our members, we're actually leaving out the best salespeople we have are the members of the gym. So I want them involved in that process. Absolutely.
All right, very cool. Well, we're going to end this here now, because we're going to go the next episode. I want to talk about, once you get them sitting down, it's called the strategy session, and there's 3 parts to it, three main parts, and I want to go over those parts next episode. So Elias, thank you so much for doing this. All right, we talked about kind of sales over the phone and that initial phone call that people are going to be inquiring about the gym. Then we talked about where to do this whole process, whether we should have a dedicated office or we can do it right out on the floor, which is going to be 10 times easier for 90% of the gyms out there. And now, I want you to give us an overview of your strategy session. You have 3 parts to it. Tell us about the 3 parts.
So the 3 primary parts of the strategy session are, number 1 is the intake, that introduction where you meet somebody, you bring them in, we have a seat down at the strategy session table, and we fill out the form. Now, every gym has forms like general information, medical history, they ask what your goals are and things like that. But what most do is they tend to have that person fill it out. Here, go fill this out, and then when you're done, we'll talk. We actually like to sit down and fill that out with them. So that's step number 1. Step number 2 is the actual assessment. So we go through functional movement screen. We talk about what their training history is, what it is, kind of what have they done before, and where are they now? How do they move, and how does everything go now? And then the last piece is the tour. And we give them a tour of the gym based on all the information we've had beforehand. And then it leads right to the close, which is, I promise, the easiest part.
There you go. Now, the thing about this order or this idea, like you said, with the tour, the sales process, the close should take care of itself. And you called it, you said in our episode of Strength Coach TV that we're kind of stacking. Talk to us about that and why the close should be so easy.
Yeah, absolutely. So closing really is people put so much emphasis on the close. How do I close? How do I close? It's simple. You just ask them, are you ready to sign up? And which one do you want to sign up for? That's literally all the close is, because so much of what we're doing ahead of time is stacking value, but we don't know how to stack that value until we know what's valuable to that person, right? So if we sit down and we take the time to get to know them, so that first part where we get the intake, we get their general information, some medical history, we start to talk about their stress levels, what their day is like, what kind of work did they do, and then we start to get into what their goals are, what it is they want to accomplish. By doing this together and starting asking questions, we start simple questions like, take any medication right now? Do you have any major dietary limits we should know about? Simple, easy to answer questions, but getting them into the habit of answering those questions allows them to get more comfortable in conversation. As we get more comfortable in conversation, we get to ask deeper questions like, what are you looking for in a gym? Like, for example, no one comes to the gym to build muscle and burn fat. What they want is what building muscle and burning fat does for them. And that's what I'm trying to get to. What is this? What's the emotional anchor, the emotional attachment here? So by starting with that and then getting into the assessment, like we use the functional movement screen, and then getting into that program, I can now talk to them specifically about what they want. If I have someone that's here for fat loss, we're not going to talk about a 600-pound deadlift. If I've got someone that's here for a 600-pound deadlift, we're not going to talk about fat loss. So the better I understand what it is that they see as valuable, the easier it is for me to converse specifically on that, right in through the assessment, and then from the assessment through the tour. So now as we get into the tour, that allows me to talk about, this is how this is going to affect your fat loss. And when it affects your fat loss that way, how is this going to feel? How is this going to help you? How is this going to affect your day-to-day life? So you're literally closing from the beginning. Closing has everything to do with asking the right questions at the right time in order to get them to make a purchase, because we know how valuable that purchase is going to be for them.
Absolutely. Now, talk to me really quick about this idea. Like, let's continue on the close idea. So many people have 74 options. Talk to us about how you kind of make sure that you're not, I know you've already, you know the direction that they want to go, and you're going to offer some stuff, but do you guys have, like I said, there's so many options with people. What do you present to them at that point for the close? Like, are you ready to sign up? But what are you telling, like, are you suggesting a certain membership? Go over that.
Yeah, great question. So the thing to keep in mind here is that we are the professionals. I know what's best for you. I know knowing what you want and knowing what you want to accomplish. Here's how we get that thing. When you sit down with your doctor at the end of like, here, hey, I'm sick. He doesn't say, all right, do we want, what kind of, you got 15 different medications. Which one do you want? Like, it doesn't, he's the professional. Yeah. He decides what that person needs, right? So number one, we keep it simple and we make a recommendation. At Results Fitness, we really have two options. And there's a couple of variables they can choose within those options, but they got to pick one of those paths first. It's either group training, which, large group training, or semi-private training. That's really your options. So when we do that, you have to keep this in mind. We're asking for an A or B, this one or that one. Would you like this one or that one? Where it sort of takes no off the table, although no is that third answer, right? But it kind of takes it off the table. Do you want this one or this one? Isn't a yes or no question. Second, when you have a million options and a ton of things to choose from and a whole bunch of upgrades and all that to choose from, people can get paralyzed by indecision. Right? One of the most popular restaurant chains in Southern California is In-N-Out. You basically get fries, a burger, a cheeseburger, and a double-double. That's it. That's all you can order.
Yeah.
And the lines are stacked, and no one waits to make a decision. They know exactly what they want by the time they get there because it's easy to make a decision. Overwhelming with options makes it difficult to make a decision. And when it's difficult to make a decision, that's the same as no.
So if you have options, like as an owner, somebody's thinking about, but I have so many options, you would just basically try to keep breaking it down to the A and B. So for example, you want semi-private or group. Yes, I do. Do you want, now, so I want semi-private. So now you can say, okay, so great. Semi-private's awesome. I think that you made the right choice. would you like to do 2 times or 3 times a week? Is that what you're basically
Absolutely.
keep doing? A, B, A, B, A, B.
Absolutely right. If you have a whole bunch of things that you offer at your gym, number one, make a recommendation. I recommend semi-private training twice a week, and then our shred class 2 times a week, and I want to get you into the stretch class 1 time a week. And then we're going to start some nutrition protocol based on everything you've told me. Make that recommendation first and ask them, how does that sound? And they will tell you, that sounds great, boom, signed up. Or they'll tell you, actually, I can only do this, or I was thinking a little more along the lines of that, and the close becomes a conversation. You say, oh, great, well, I can give you this, this, and this. Does that sound like what you're looking for? So you're continually going down that recommendation line. Here's the best recommendation based on what we've talked about, what your schedule's like, what your budget's like.
Very cool. All right, awesome. Next session, we're going to go a little deeper into some of the components of the strategy session. So, Elias, thank you so much for doing this. So we went over the strategy session last week, and what I want to talk to you about is going a little deeper. I absolutely love that you guys fill out the PAR queue with them. And I think my option, when I had 5 Iron Fitness, I made a survey, almost like a Survey Monkey, but it wasn't, where I had them do it at home. Because I wanted to make sure that they sat there. Because so many times when you hand them, fill this out, that, they don't remember all the crap. And then they just kind of breeze through it. They forget about an ankle injury that they had. But when you go through it with them, so for what I did was I did the survey, and then I took that information, I made some notes, but then I kind of went over it again even. I'm like, okay, so no ankle injuries, right? No hip, no knee, whatever. And then I was building rapport with the information that I got. But I actually really like the way you guys do it. You're filling out that PAR queue with them. Talk to me about the importance of that, and maybe some of the deeper questions that you're going to ask besides, history of, their great-grandfather's, heart history.
Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into this in filling this out with them and filling that out with another person. When someone comes into the dentist office, right, or the doctor's office, which no one likes to go to, they get told, fill this out and come back when you're done, right? And I don't want to be anything like that. I don't want it to feel. We have to keep in mind, people buy based on how they feel. And we want to make sure that we take any moment, any interaction that we do, and we concentrate on how does this feel? How does having them fill it out versus me going through and doing an interview, how does that feel? And so by doing an interview, we get to accomplish a whole lot of things. Number one, straight up from a system point of view, any staff member at the gym can do this. That's the other important part, is that it's replicable. Any staff member can sit down and literally just go through the questions with that person, and it will lead them to an easy sale. So this is a replicable system. But importantly, when we talk about filling this out and asking these questions, it just allows you to start a conversation, to get to know somebody, to ask them questions. First, like medical questions, digging deep. If you find out, like for me, for example, if I find out somebody has back issues, I can commiserate. I can say, yeah, that's tough. I've been through back surgery myself. I can understand how difficult that is. And when we start to get into these questions and we listen to these answers and we find common ground, people start to really feel like you understand them. And that's the first step in building rapport, is they have to feel like you understand them, because people will buy from people they like. And we like people who understand us. And so that's the baseline of how we want to get started with this.
Absolutely. And then there's really another great reason why you want to do this. And you and I were talking about this in the Strength Coach TV episode, is a lot of people will take somebody on a tour, the first thing they do, like, okay, hey, Joe, how you doing? Nice to meet you. Let's take a little bit of a walk, and we'll go around and show you, and you think you're going to build rapport and let them feel a little comfortable. But you guys, you actually do the tour last. And
yes,
and I like that, because now you don't have to go over every single, you'll pick stops, right? And say, based on that conversation that you had, because if somebody's not trying to lift 500 pounds off the ground, you don't need to show them always like, oh, look how much weight we have, and we have this whole powerlifting area here. We have, and this is Craig, our powerlifting coach. So it's a great way, right? To like, tell us about this idea about doing the tour last.
Yeah. So you actually hit the major points. The biggest thing about doing the tour last is you can't compete over toys, because you'll lose to a big box. If you're a small gym or a private gym or a gym that doesn't use a ton of equipment, just having less stuff can sometimes give somebody the impression of, oh, why don't you have all these other things I've seen? And we're just guessing if we'd give the tour first. Here's some treadmills. Here's a TRX. Here's this. Here's that. Everybody has that. That doesn't set you apart. But if we do all of this information gathering ahead of time, I can sit with somebody and say, okay, so here's a TRX. And this is one of my favorite tools in the game. So I'm going to give you a chance to do one of these exercises with me. And I'll set them up for an assisted squat, right? A TRX squat. And I'm working with somebody who's 65. She wants to garden again, but she's got difficult time getting up and down off the ground. And I know that because that's what she wants to do. She wants to be mobile and functional. She doesn't want her kids to have to support her. And she wants to do the things that she likes to do. And then for the first time in however many years, with the assistance of a TRX, we can put her through a full range squat that she hasn't felt in a long time. And I would not be able to know how powerful that would feel for her if we hadn't done all this information gathering ahead of time. So it almost starts to feel like these little miracles happen. I can go into our group training room where our classes take place, our large group is, and I can talk to somebody who was a football player. And I said, hey, you remember playing football, right? And you're a running back and you'd score a touchdown. Are you the only one that celebrates? And they're like, no. And I'm like, absolutely right. The whole team celebrates. Everybody goes nuts. Well, that's what this group room is like. When you win and you hit a PR or you drop weight or you put on muscle, your heart rate's better, then everyone celebrates. And so we start to link these things in the gym to things in their life that are important to them, or things that they love, or memories or relationships that they love, that they enjoy. And we can't do that if we do the tour first. It's a lost opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, just want to get your thoughts on, so, because like the only thing with the like showing toys sometimes is when I did the tour at 5 Iron, what I would show is some of the my unique selling points. So, for example, I would take them over to the True Stretch cage, which a lot of gyms don't have because it takes up room, and it's, you know, it's $2,500 or so. But I worked with golfers, so I would get in a golf position in the True Stretch and say, try this out, look at this position, and they would love it. And by the way, every single one of my golfers use that True Stretch cage. And then I would show them the concrete wall. It sounds funny, but a concrete wall is important because med balls are such a big part of our program that we would throw some med balls. And I would always say, like, you're not going to be able to do this over at, you know, New York Sports, and your wife or your husband certainly isn't letting you going to throw it in the house, you know? So you know, these were unique selling points, and I had a putting green, and I would take them on the putting green. The putting green was actually elevated on purpose because the guy who put it in said, you want that because when they come from the bottom, you know, and walk onto this green, it's kind of like they have this feeling of they're on a different surface and it's a little higher, and it's a good feeling, you know. And so for me, that was another wow factor. Not every one of my clients used that putting green, but they all said, oh, wow, this is really cool. Oh, yeah, I can do my putting here. Great, this is cool. So with that, those toys, I think when they're unique, you can feature them.
I agree. We're actually digging into some real deep psychological stuff here. So you, at that place with the equipment that you have, were super dialed into your demographic, a really, really specific demographic, which, by the way, is exactly what you need in order to sell well. But having a demographic that's so specific, those unique selling points start to become an era of, like, if we talk about the golfer, just the golfer in general, that golf is considered sort of an elevated sport. It is a high skill sport. It is an expensive sport. So there's sort of a feeling of stepping onto that golf course. So I agree, stepping up onto a higher level putting green, getting into these things that you have that no one else has, taps into that. Simply having a membership at a golf course is something that most people don't have. So showing them things in your gym that most gyms don't have is absolutely going to resonate with them. So you are set up for success simply by having the right demographic completely nailed down. So in giving your tour and showing these unique things, that's a home run.
Yeah, but you still would have gave me probably like maybe a B- because I probably did the tour. I probably did the tour first, and you know, I didn't fill it out in person. Although I felt like the process worked because I would spend 10-15 minutes talking to them about, you know, their life. But how long does this all take?
The whole thing takes about 45 minutes. And a lot of times we think, okay, oh my gosh, having this conversation and asking all these questions and talking so much. If you talk too much, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take an hour and a half. But the more you have them talking and the more you get them to sort of lead the conversation with your engineering, then it should only take 45 minutes to an hour. I like to slot an hour because some people are more talkative than others, but all of them should be able to get done within an hour.
Very cool. All right, Elias, thank you so much for doing this, and we will talk to you next time. There's a lot of people with really small operations, so whether it's themselves or two people or an owner, a trainer, and an assistant, a part-time assistant. What are kind of best practices? Because we talked last time about this idea about the strategy session. It's so important. It takes 45 minutes, possibly an hour. We do have people calling us with that sales over the phone. We talked about that a month and a half ago, a couple episodes ago. If you're a small operation, can you give it? Because I know you get this question a lot. Can you give us kind of best practices, how the small operation should set this whole thing up, and maybe take a little bit of time away from it?
For sure. So as we talk about, like, if you're a one-person show, it can feel like, oh my gosh, I have to compete with all these other gyms that have all this staff and all these toys and a smoothie bar and all this kind of stuff. You really don't. If you sit there and remind yourself, it is about building your relationships, and those are one-to-one. Every relationship starts one-to-one. So if it's just you, that's really all that you need. Everything else just makes you that little bit better, allows you to do a little bit more. So if we're looking at it and you don't have time for like the folding screen, a functional movement screen, and a tour of your space, you might not even have a space. You might be coaching out of someone else's space and you can't set up a tour, whatever the case may be. Build that relationship with that intake form. That's the whole point. That's really what it comes down to, is take the time to ask questions, get to know that person. You can really do that in about 30 minutes and get to find out what it is that is important to them, what it is that they're looking for, what their emotional anchor is to that thing. Why is this so important? And once we get that information, we can actually start to help them make buying decisions. So you don't have to have all the stuff. It's the same as like you have good diet and exercise. You don't have to have supplements to make you better. But if you have them, they make you a little bit better, right? Yeah. They're a supplement. They fill in the blanks. We have to look at everything else that way. We're constantly at Results Fitness. We're looking for what is 1% better. What's the one thing we can add or change that makes it 1% better? But it's already an 80% game where it's knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this last time, about the way I did it, and I sent them a kind of like a Survey Monkey type thing with a bunch of questions. You can still kind of do a hybrid version. Send them some to get them out of the way. Make sure you review it before they come when the time is right for you. But then when they come in, boom, I always sat down with people for 10 or 15 minutes. Then I did an assessment. Or I gave them a tour first, like I said last time. That's why I got a B- from you. So, I did the tour. I sat down with them 10, 15 minutes. I always showed what I did. Again, with my 5-iron was easy because, not easy, but it was such a specific demographic. I would take a picture of their golf posture before the whole thing. As I was taking a tour, I would take a picture of your golf posture, and then we would do the assessment, then I would do a couple exercises, and then I would have them and get them into better posture in one session, and they were sold on that. But there are things that you can do to kind of make it a little bit of hybrid. But I love this idea, like you said, about it's really about building that relationship, building that rapport.
Yeah, I mean, if I were to break it down, there isn't a whole lot of. It can sound like there are a lot of things we do, but that's because we're going into detail. It really is just spending time with that person. And so when we talk about doing that intake, if you're just so short on time or you need to clip time, do less. Don't do a tour. Yeah. Do a little bit less, right? And build up to what you can do, what's reasonable. Now, for me, when people are like, I need to get these done in 20 minutes, I'd like to be real honest with those folks and say, 20 minutes is not a lot of time to tell somebody, I would like you to spend more than 10 grand with me over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Good point.
Dedicate that time up front. give first, give your time, give up front. That's how equity works. We want to build equity by giving up front. And the easiest thing for us to give that people are so desperate for that they don't get from other relationships in their lives is time, because everyone's in a hurry. So for you to give someone that time sends a very, very specific message. And so I would definitely encourage people to find a way to make that happen, whether it's making it by appointment, whether it's meeting them at a coffee shop because you're renting space out of some big box and you can't do it when they want to do. Go meet them somewhere else. You don't have to do a tour. Go meet them somewhere else. Go through the intake form, talk about them, have a nice casual conversation about somebody they want to do business with.
Absolutely. What would you feel about that part of it if they were coming in and you said, hey, I just wanted to talk to you for 10 or 15 minutes, and you did some of the PARQ over the phone? If they, again, we're talking about specific, unique, because somebody can do it at 1 o'clock and you're like, no, we're not here at 1, or et cetera, or I can't get down there, so can we do this as part of it over the phone? How would you feel about that?
You know what? I'm okay with doing it over the phone. First of all, I'm okay with doing it however way as opposed to not doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like if the answer is, well, you can't make it at 1, I'm only available at 1, so see ya. No, that's always the wrong answer. So if it means we can do it over the phone or I can have a conversation over the phone, absolutely do that. I would just remind you, like everything else, practice. Practice talking on the phone. Practice communicating on the phone. Get good about conversation on the phone. Like, for example, even just doing the interview with you right now, you ask the right questions, you probe the conversation, you pay attention to where this conversation is going, you think about what I've already said, what I haven't said, what you know about me before. And so you have this tremendous amount of practice of getting information from somebody without being in front of them, which is exactly what you and me are doing now, because you've been doing it for so long. So just like anything else, it's a skill.
Good point. Excellent point. Well, this has been an amazing series. We've done 5 episodes with Elias, and I hope you guys got as much out of it as I have. And if you want more information, for each episode we've been posting the video, that the Strength Coach TV episode that I did with just Elias, and I kind of went through. We started outside, we sat down. We even had somebody cross. They were worried that they were going to cross the camera. We're like, no, this is real time. Come on, bring it through. So it's a great episode to really to put all these pieces together in one sitting. So Elias, thank you so much for coming on.
For sure. And don't forget, in case you didn't know, seek me out on Instagram. I'm the only Elias Scar on Instagram. I'm easy to find, and I absolutely answer all the DMs that come my way. So if you want to have a talk or want to chat, shoot me a message. Very cool. Thanks again, Elias. All right, that's going to do it for episode 269.5 of the Strength Coach Podcast. Remember, you can try strengthcoach.com out 3 days. Just $1. You'll have access to all the articles, videos, and programs, as well as the best forum on the net. It's the only place to have full access to Coach Boyle. He's on every day. To access that offer, go to strengthcoach.com. Special thanks to Chris Porter and the folks over at Perform Better. Right now, the huge holiday sale. Take advantage of that. Check it out at performbetter.com. Thanks so much to Results Fitness University, Alwyn and Rachel Cosgrove, and Elias Scar. Don't forget, 3-day mentorship coming up in February. Go to resultsfitnessmentorship.com to fill out an application. My name is Anthony Renna. My new book, Be Like the Best, is at belikethebest.com or continuefit.com. The book consists of 50 interviews with top fitness pros, and after each interview is a Be Like, an action step or challenge that'll help you be like the best. Again, belikethebest.com or continuefit.com. Thanks again, and I'll speak to you next time.